So I am here with the four gentlemen of Archetype. That all four of them, it takes four people to do a presentation on, what are we talking about?
We're talking about rapid iteration in HTML5.
Awesome. Okay, and explain to me. Go through some of the basics of rapid iteration of HTML5. What are you going to be talking about?
Sure. So we're talking about our overall creative process, taking HTML5 kind of very much from the beginning, smaller chunks, smaller pieces, something that we can create very rapidly, show off to the customer, show off kind of to each other internally, and then trying to continue to practice and kind of design out each little piece. So adding to it a little more, adding to it a little more. When we have to step back, we're just taking little baby steps back instead of having to go all the way through production and then kind of start over when either the customer doesn't like it or we're committing to choices too early. We're really trying to show how we can use a lot of different prototyping methodologies to be able to create a very robust end result, but throughout the process itself, we're not taking massive production time to get to each piece. We're really testing a specific type of technology or a specific methodology, and then if that's working, then we're adding on to that and adding on to it until we really have a very solid, larger scale piece.
All right, so I know you guys did some big HTML5 project for Red Bull. So at the very beginning of that project, how do you begin with a small piece? That's what I'm confused by. Like, that's a big project, so what's the first small piece you start with, and what did you start with that project?
Well, in the case of Red Bull, one of the things that we needed to understand fundamentally is how video would perform, a lot of different videos in one experience. Also, there was a lot of depth in the experience and motion, so we needed to understand a lot of the sort of interaction model with HTML5. And kind of relating to what Danny said, what we did is prototyped out each different component of the interface that we needed to eventually build. And we did those in kind of single sets. So we created a simple video experience. We created a simple interactive prototype that had some depth and parallax effect with a little bit of motion. We created kind of simple visual elements with rounded corners and layering and some other things that were part of the overall experience. And part of that is that when you're working with HTML5, every browser interprets the spec a little bit differently. So we needed to understand what elements we could build that would be supported across a bunch of different browsers and still, kind of result in a beautiful experience at the end.
So are there any hiccups to doing it this way, or is it like, because it's so small, even when you hit trouble spots, it's easier to manage?
Well, if you start simply, you find out what your trouble spots are quickly. And we did so with the video delivery systems that they were using, and we were able to basically cut that off quickly, get something else going.
Any other big issues that I need to worry about when I'm doing rapid development in HTML5?
I think one thing that's important to add to what Mike was saying is to have a design and development team that can create these initial concepts that we're presenting to the client, whether they're small prototypes or just flat design comps. To have them have a really strong core understanding of the actual prototyping and work required to build it. And that's with Red Bull specifically, what helped us a lot is that we had all our designers be really fluent with HTML. So the prototypes and comps that they were presenting, they knew they could pull off, and they knew that were going to be easy to build in one browser. And one thing might be more challenging here and there, but for the most part, we had a vision that was that we were technically very knowledgeable on.
And it really helps us push the technology as well when we can take and say, okay, can we do this specific piece with the technology? Yes, we can. Okay, let's add more, let's add more. And we really try to take that a lot further. And if you have just taken the original idea and you've built that all out, you really miss out on that option just for overall production time and things of that.
Excellent, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and good luck on your session.